Welcome to Science Access. In today's class, I'm going to be defining or explaining some common terms that we use in statistics or biostatistics. Now, some of the terms I'm going to explain is variable, data. We'll talk about descriptive statistics, constant, inferential statistics. We'll talk about sample and even population. Now, in my previous video, we have explained data and variable, but I'll just give you a brief definition about them. So, what is variable? If you know you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe. What is variable? Variables are actually characteristics or attributes that differs or that varies from among individuals or subjects in a study. In a study, variables are those characteristics or attributes that varies among individual or subjects. Now, note that, for example, we want to study height. The height of an individual varies, all right? We want to study weight. It varies among individuals. So these are variables. Now, what about data? Data are actually measurements or observation collected from individuals or subjects that can be subjected to statistical analysis to get a concise information. All right? To get a concise information, please take note of that. Now, let's just take a little bit at the differences between variable and data. Now, variables, I would say height is a variable, right? Weight is a variable. Blood pressure is a variable. Now, when you collect the height, let's assume the students of Abu Salih University will collect the height of each student. You now have a data because you want to subject this data, this height, the value of the height of each student that you collected. You want to subject it to statistical analysis to get a precise information. So you now the height that you collected is actually a data, but height as a characteristic is a variable. When you collect it and you want to subject it to statistical analysis to get a concise information, you have collected what? Data. Now, why did you collect the data? Maybe you want to get the height of the students in Abu Salih University. You want to get an average height. So you just maybe calculate the mean and you now have a concise information. You can now say the average height of students in Abu Salih University is actually 5.2. So you subjected the data to analysis by carrying out calculate the average value calculation or the mean of that data. So please take note of the difference between variable, which is characteristics or attributes that varies among individuals in a study, while data are measurement or observation collected from individual or even subject that you want to subject to statistical analysis to get a concise information. What about constant? Constants are actually fixed value that do not change during the course of a study. For example, you have some values in mathematics, you always know about the constant. So these constants, they do not change during the course of the study. What is the purpose of having a constant? For reference purpose or for comparison purpose? Please take note of that. Let's talk about descriptive statistics. What is descriptive statistics? It's actually a statistical method or technique that is used to summarize and organize data sets to get a clear and concise information. Now, for example, example of descriptive statistics or the method, some of the method is the measure of central tendency, for example, and we have the mean median mode. Another one is measure of variability or dispersion. We have the standard deviation, variance, range, standard error, and all that. So these kind of descriptive statistics are actually used to get a concise information about a data set. What is the average population of individual in the USA? Descriptive statistics will just give you have a mean, average, or the average height is this. That's a descriptive statistics. What is the average weight of individuals in Stanford University? So we just give you. So these are descriptive of statistics. All right. What about inferential statistics? Now, when you talk about the inferential statistics, these are is a statistical techniques that is used to draw that uses data from sample set to draw conclusion or to get conclusion or even predict the outcome or test hypothesis of a larger population. Now, inferential statistics use data from sample sets. You collect simple samples and use this data to draw conclusion, to make predictions or even test an hypothesis. of a larger what population, or a population that you took the samples from. So please take note of this. And the last two terms we are going to explain is sample and population. Let's talk about sample. What do you understand by the term sample? Sample is actually a subset of a population that is selected for analysis. It's actually a more manageable, smaller group that is taken from a population and that is used to draw conclusion from the population from which it is actually taken. Now you take samples, study the sample, and use the sample to get or to draw conclusion from the population to make a statement regarding that population. Why population? What do you understand by the term population? It's actually the entire individual of a group or item or subject that is actually being well studied. For example, we can try to study the population of Nigeria. In that case, which is very challenging, that's the reason why we make use of sample. When you study the entire population of a country, it means that you have to take sample from every individual of that what population. So because it is challenging, we usually use what samples. The part two of this video, I'll be talking about other common terms that you use in statistics. Thank you for watching.